Alrighty, guys. Hello and welcome back to another episode. Today we have a cast in the cards played on Setton's Clutch. Game ID is right here. If you want it, it will also be down in the description below. We're going to call this Team 1 up at the top and Team 2 down here at the bottom. Had to check the scoreboard to make sure that it agreed with me. And let's start with our rear position air player. On Team 1, we have Q-Boss going Seraphim. He is going first air, as would be befitting of a player in the air factory position. His name, for whatever reason, reminds me of Hugo Boss, which I believe is a higher-end clothing manufacturer in the United States. I wouldn't really know. I wear t-shirt and basketball shorts pretty much the entire time, but I think that's what it's after, and that's what it reminds me of. Anyway, I digress. His teammate down here at the bottom is Truxaxa. We call him Trucks. He is playing Aeon, going first air as well in the cliff position. His teammate to the west is Komepk. Lots of really hard to pronounce names in this particular match. He's also going Aeon. He has gone for first land, getting some initial build orders set up, and will undoubtedly be making the trek towards the middle. And last but not least, for team number 1, we have Rami. He is playing Cybrin, going first land, looks like second air, potentially making a play, and third air, potentially making a play for this side island over here. Let's go ahead and pull the resource bars out for later on into the game. And we'll switch things up and go for the front position on Team 2. We have Lenning. He is going Seraphim, looked like he went first land, already out on the way to the middle to scoop some of this lovely mass that is here in the middle on Setton's Clutch. To his west, we have Samsung 4K. He is in the cliff position, going UEF, going first land, second air, it would appear. Samsung 4K, not sure if Samsung 4K is the best TV. I have a Hisense 4K, and it was definitely cheaper. Samsung might be better than my Hisense, but like I said, Hisense is cheaper, so maybe I'll change my name to Hisense 4K in the future, because I'm probably a cheaper version of this guy, because I'm probably nowhere near as good. Moving to the cliff position, we have Hope going UEF. He went first land, second air. And I gotta say, I really hope that this guy puts his all into this game. But I gotta say, whenever I initially see his name, the only thing that really pops into my mind is the arguably really bad CGI version of Princess Leia in Rogue One from Star Wars. And the only line that she has is hope at the very, very end. So if you guys haven't seen the movie, check that out. Great Star Wars movie if you guys are a fan of Star Wars. And last, we have Alchemist 96. He is playing Cybrin in the air position. He's gone first lane, getting that first air factory up off of the Hydro. Already got a couple of mexes up to T2. So moving on towards the middle, we have Lenning grabbing a mass extractor and then probably going to be queuing up. I would imagine some orders of reclaim like we see there. And then his opponent is looking to contest as well, bringing an engineer with him. So while these guys are getting kicked off, I did reach out. I know that there were a lot of people that had interest in a Stone Age mod tournament. So I reached out to FTX Commando. I believe that he's the man whenever it comes to tournament coordination. So hopefully that'll get authorized. If it does, I'm going to be looking to host that probably the end of April to give people time to sign up. So stay tuned for that. But I have gotten that process rolling, at least to the best of my ability, making sure that everything is authorized and above board with the admins. So I know that a lot of you guys were really interested in seeing something like that. So I'm looking to go ahead and host it. I will actually have a prize pool associated with it and of some amount of monetary value that I will be divvying up between first, second, and third place. I will actually put a cap as well on the skill level, because I do want this to be a tournament for newer players to kind of get their feet wet in the tournament kind of game, if you will, like actually playing best of ones or best of threes without absolutely getting annihilated by good players in the first round. So stay tuned for that. I will keep you guys updated as I get authorized or whether that gets shot down. Hopefully it doesn't, and hopefully I can host it. But anyway, back to the game. We do have the initial shots being fired off by the two mid players. It would appear that Kong, which is what we're going to be calling him, has got initial scoop orders on, I would assume, the first two destroyers, and then it's just going to dip out into the water and changes his mind, actually, to go after some of these loyalist wrecks. There is a good amount of mass here, even though the destroyers do have the larger amount of reclaim. There is a hell of a lot of reclaim here between the pillars and the loyalists in the middle, so definitely not something that you should be ignoring. And it looks like he's just going to go ahead and take the opportunity to lay some shots into Lenning instead. Going back to Observer, we do have a drop on the way. We'll see if this actually lands from trucks. It does look like it's going to make it onto the ground. Chariot is going to be soon shot down by the Cyclones, though, in pursuit. They go straight to work on a Seeker. And it looks like that island will for now be held by trucks. And on the other side of the map, we do have Samsung 4K. He has already taken control of his particular island, has a land factory down, capturing the last two mexes, and also has his first of, I'm sure, many naval factories down as well. So things are a little bit quiet here in the beginning. We have Com has sustained a pretty good amount of damage. Lenning, I think, has got the lion's share of the reclaim. You can actually look at that quick. See, he's got 3,100 reclaims scooped compared to his mirror at 3,300. Never mind. Com is doing a pretty good job staying with it in the reclaim game. Recovering from some early damage taken. And has emerged from the water victorious in the reclaim contest, if only by a couple of hundred mass points. Com seems to have made a relatively large commitment for air. On the land side of things, got a bomber out for some early harass. That'll get shot down, though, relatively quickly. Scout's getting a read on the situation, and his spam is relatively far away, whereas Lenning's spam is hot on his heels, so I'll have to take a couple of pot shots at that and dip back into friendlier territory to get his spam up to support. And it actually looks like he might go into the water instead, which might be good considering there are a lot of Zoos in the mix. A Shift G might have been able to finish him off there if they had kept him isolated with the Zooies, but his spam is now quick to respond, pretty much entirely fervors, so almost only, actually I take that back, only light artillery being used by the mid player for Team 1 in this mix. Can't say they did too terribly though. Larger numbers does help, as well as these eruptor turrets that are back here in the back line. These fighters are gonna polish off the last of the Zooies. Still got some bomber harass though, coming out from these shimmers. Not going to be able to do a whole hell of a lot of damage though with these ISLs, as well as the IALAs, I guess is what they're called, the T1 anti-air defense. Never called those by their name. It does look like we have what looks like a Navy nearly deny. See if Ramey actually knows about these two northern naval factories. He does not. These two subs might run into them, in which case that would be bad news bears for Samsung 4K, potentially being completely denied any naval access. He does have some bombers out though, and it looks like he's done a good amount of harass up here on the northern side of the map. Interceptor scrambling, but it looks like there was a drop here with a couple of strikers and Lobos that will lay waste to these northern 3 mexes for Ramey. That can't be something you're too excited about as a beach player, or if you're already a little bit down on the mass extraction point perspective from the Cliff player. But he can't be crying too much because he has a pretty good position right now in the Navy game. We'll see if he ends up scouting these two northern naval factories. In the southern pond, it does look like we've had a drop from Hope. Hope is hoping to take control of this island. It's got a T1 naval or land factory up, as well as a plasma cannon. Do we have a response yet? Okay, so we do have a response now. Fervor's coming out for trucks. And with this land factory and this plasma cannon, he might be hard pressed to keep hold of this island, especially if his Fervor's come off the line just straight into that T1 plasma cannon. his firing arc. And down here we have Com. Looks like he's on an upgrade. I would imagine it's T2 because of his health pool. We'll see what he ends up going for. Is it in the chat? Yep, starting T2. So he's starting T2. Samsung is also starting T2, wherever he's at in his base. Or he's done with T2. Starting to work on his first T2 power generator. But Com does have a nice little shadow here from trucks to make sure that no subs come and interrupt the upgrade. Are very sporting of his teammates. I watch too much Guile, and so sometimes British euphemisms creep in. Are very sporting. Doesn't help that I also play electric guitar, and I watch an electric guitar YouTube channel as well, so I've learned some slang, like blag. I'm pretty sure that I've let that slip in a couple of casts. Be a bit of a blag. I have no idea if that's a standard slang in the UK or not, or if I'm just being weird. Ignore me, crazy American, you know. Big push though, back to the game, coming in from Lenning. Large T1 push is going to run straight into this very large group of fervors. Com seems to have a fear of Auroras. Well, he has a couple in the mix, but he is leaning almost entirely on fervors in his T1 mix. Does have a lot of eruptors though. Would have probably been a good idea for Lenning to scout out his opponent and probably drop these Zooies out of range with these eruptors to take hold of them. As it is, he's just going to basically click these T1 units in and leave a relatively large mass deposit on Com's doorstep here. Com going for shield after T2. So going for a very tanky Com, never wants to drop that low on HP again. Can't say that I blame him. Down here at the bottom though, we got problems for trucks. He has lost control of this island. These Lobos as well as a Striker and these Thunderheads off the coast didn't really do him any favors. And in the northern pond for Samsung, it looks like he has ousted the T1 sub-spam, regained control of his limited beach front, and never got these northern factories were never discovered, which is surprising because Ramey has a very thorough scouting network going on over the over his side of the map. Could have done well with sending a couple of scouts over to his opponent's side. But anyway, from a mass perspective, Team 2 is coming out ahead, about 8 to 9k, so 8.5k up on team number 1. See if that lead ends up holding on. Gun speed now going up for Com after his shield upgrade. So really throwing the upgrades on in this Com, investing a lot of mass into that, a lot of energy as well. What does his power grid actually look like? He's all T1. Does have a good amount of storage, which appears to be full. Undoubtedly so that his he can benefit from all of the overflow that his allies may or may not be producing. And he's starting shield heavy as well, so really throwing it on for the Com upgrades. Mass stalling heavily as a result. It's probably the only reason why he's not energy stalling is because he's mass stalling so heavily. But trucks not willing to let this side island go quietly into the night. Has deployed 2 Spectres to take out this land factory, as well as any of these land units or engineers that might cause him a problem. We also have subs coming in as support. Only 1 sub here for Hope. So these subs should be able to mop up these Thunderheads. We'll see if Hope is actually paying attention. Moves his units. Splendid. Could do with taking out that Tiger Shark though. Yeah, we have the first of what looks like potentially an artillery bank here from Lenning in the middle. We didn't talk about player ratings here, so very wide range of player ratings. So we have Samsung 4K up at 1500, so just into pro territory. And then we have Compec on the lower end of the scale at 500. So very wide range of skill, ranging about 1,000 points in skill rating, which is really what I love to see. I love to see very wide skill gap games. I think it leads to very interesting games, as well as gives newer players or players that may not be quite as good the ability to play against players that are a little bit more seasoned, as it were. So if you imagine a player with some nice Himalayan pink salt, or maybe some Tony's Cajun seasoning, or some Slap Your Mama seasoning, and then you got another player that sitting there with no seasoning. It allows no seasoning to experience the glories of good cooking. Assault coming in though from Com. He's got two blazes, and then a host of T1 units running into a very large host of T1 units from Lenning, as well as some T1 point defense. I don't imagine this push going super far. He is investing a lot of money and time into these upgrades, which he has finished. So this comm is going to emerge from the waves and begin his machine gunning of enemy units with that speed as well as the shield. So not only tanky, but also will be able to pack a punch as he begins laying into the T1 units for Lenning. Should probably move though. Zui's still hurt. Also got some support here from trucks. He is on the run though now. Let's have a lot of eruptors as well as like a good number of blazes here in the background. Should be able to mop up pretty much everything here, I would imagine, and his comm is going to emerge largely unscathed from this. Well, entirely unscathed, but his shield might take a couple of hits. Point defense seem to be doing their job. There's a ton of reclaim here in the middle for these guys to pick up if they should so desire. A couple of Ilshavas in the mix as well. Going to work on the Asylum shield as well as the blazes that it is protecting. So a contingent of these units will break through. Cork not being enough to stem the flow. Some blazes are deployed. Blazes, of course, will get eaten alive by these Ilshavas. But he does have some bombers as well over the top. And these Janus are coming in and laying into his comm. From Mr. Superior 4K TV himself. Janus not being the best at comm destruction though. Does have ASFs en route from his teammate, Hugo Boss. And comm emerges unscathed yet again. Goes to work on some T2 flak. That heavy shield man does work. So T2 torpedo bombers out for Superior 4K TV. He doesn't seem to be making a huge commitment to Navy. Instead, looking to go to T3 on his comm. Only has 3 naval factories up. This one going to work on a Valiant, and then this one working on a Tiger Shark, but this one's idle. So not putting a ton out into the water in the way of Navy. First little air engagement. Geminis get the drop on these Iazines. Seraphim T3 air superiority fighters. Hugo Boss does mop that up though, and the remaining Gemini bug out and head home. Instead of performing a split S to take down the ASFs, it's better to retire, save your aircraft. 10 points in my undying respect if you can name the movie in the comments. Volthus end up running into shield as well as flak. It's not going to end too well for them. Shields do such a great job of standing up to gunships. And flak, the AoE damage is pretty gnarly. .18 minutes in, and Team 2 has widened its lead. Team 2 is run by one person. Its lead to 22k mass ahead. But you'd be forgiven for thinking it was a pretty even game, because it looks like the top pawn seems to be going Team 1's way. Bottom pawn is at least equal. I can't say that the mid is favoring one player or another either. Our chip leaders right now are Superior 4K TV, Samsung 4K, working on his T3 upgrade right now. He is followed by about 40 mass by Hugo Boss, the air player for the other team. And then we have Hope coming in third at 130-ish mass per tick. Good amounts of reclaim, though, in the middle, as well as this bottom island, which is yet to be reclaimed by either of the bottom pond players. Here we've got that semi-lack of naval commitment potentially coming back to bite Samsung 4K here. Superior tech being deployed, 3 Salems and a cruiser, as well as a Jester that seems to be just along for the ride. Looking to see some sights. Swallow some missiles, you know. Valiant is deployed. Should get mopped up, though, by the Salems, being superior numbers. And in the middle, we have another just kind of brute force attack from Lenning. His approach seems to be throw as many units at the problem. We should be able to break through and do some damage. This time, it looks like he is going to break through, though. I don't think there's enough to stop him, unless he just sits and does some sightseeing here. Though he will probably mop up this forward base for Calm. Oh, and Calm's Calm. Calm's Calm is here. That heavy shield, but he is getting pelted by these Ulshivas. He is in trouble. Exodus fire covering him from the lower pond, but he's not even moving. Going to work on a miasma. I think that this is going to be our first ejection from the game. Heavy shield is not going to save him. Well, maybe it is. Ulshivas can't seem to make up their mind about what they want to target. I think some of these Obsidians, if they would just focus on the Calm, I think they could get it. There they go. Drops into the yellow. Ulshivas, though, getting mopped up. I don't think he has enough gas in the tank to close this out. He's Exodus being Calm, saving base. Well, he saved his base. Saving grace. Down here in the bottom pond. Meanwhile, in the top pond, we've got the wolf pack of 3 Salems and a cruiser. Going to work on Samsung 4K's naval yards here. He did find these northern naval yards as well, so these guys won't be able to mount any kind of defense. And that is a top pond win for team number 1. Bottom pond doesn't look like it's faring a whole hell of a lot better as Exodus began laying into Lenning's forward position. He does have some Zuthams here, so he can shoot back, but artillery definitely not an ideal kind of response for naval engagement. You're only going to win that engagement for so long, or be able to hold that off for so long. We have a ton of Vespers in here as well. It's like 4 or 5, potentially 6 T2 submarine hunters going in to work on this largely T1 group of tiger sharks. And these guys will get pretty much chewed up. Zoom out a little bit so you guys can take stock of everything that is going on the map. This naval engagement, I believe, is going to go for trucks. Then we have Ramey up here at the top, laying into Samsung 4K's base with those Salems as well as the cruiser. So Samsung is going to have lots of issues on his hands. Does look like he is going to work on a fire base up here with a couple of clink hammers to at least be able to shoot back and not just take a beating. And I probably spoke too soon. It looks like this naval engagement is going to go, well, potentially, we'll see. Exodus might be overrun by these Thunderheads. Submarine's not doing quite enough damage to offset it. We do have an Infinity class cruiser here as well. And another push coming in from Lenning with more Ilshivas. Lots of Ilshivas. As well as lots of Ayashivas. AA. Really tired of getting picked off by AA. Shield not fully regenerated yet, but I don't know if that's going to make a whole lot of a difference. Does have an Oblivion turret here to back him up. But he stops moving. Oh, and the shield hasn't regenerated. It's not even taking effect yet. That is going to be our first ejection. I do believe Ilshivas can keep a beat. Takes a huge Zutham shot. And that is going to be Com's ejection from the game. Our first ejection being the forward player for team number 1 at 24.5 minutes-ish. This naval engagement does seem to have, while we were focusing on the com kill, does look like Hope was able to stave off Trux's assault. And Samsung seems to have lost his clink hammers here, building another set a little bit further back, but focusing a lot of his eco, it would appear, on broadswords, resorting to T3 air to deal with the naval incursion instead of trying to get back into the water. Can't say that I blame him. Whenever you're at that much of a tech disadvantage, it's real hard to get going again, get back into the water in the cliff position. Nobody's taken this side island yet. And that's gonna drive me insane. Alright, right now, throw some bets down in the comments on when you think, or if you think, this side island is gonna get retaken. No fast forwarding. I'll know if you guys fast forwarded. Always no. Another push though coming in from Lenning. Another band of Ilshivas and Ayashivas. He seems to just want to click and run. Could definitely drop some mobile missile launchers here, clean up this fire base. Not be wasting these units. It does appear though some of the reclaim was scooped at one time or another though, so yeah, we got an engineer that wants desperately to be reclaiming this Janus wreck. He's just begging for the order. It's like, I'm ready. I'm ready. Let me at it. See if he gets it. We've got the Salem's numbers have grown to 8, though, in the middle. And they are providing absolutely a withering amount of fire over this middle causeway. And starting to threaten, well, not starting to threaten, seriously threatening Lenning's position here at the front. He's going to lose these artillery installations, lost the shield generator, probably going to lose the point defense. Both forward players will have little in terms of static emplacements right now to stop a land army from marching across the very thin causeway. All right, who had 27 minutes? If anybody had 27 minutes, you again get 10 points in my undying respect. Broadswords as well as ASF actually from Samsung, so getting into the air game himself. Dispatched to potentially deal with this. We got 2 cruisers in the mix. Broadswords need to focus those down pretty quickly, which is exactly what they do. And those sirens are going to melt under the broadsword fire. Gemini dispatched though from Jamie. Jamie. Where'd that come from? Ramey has also gotten his hand into the T3 air game, albeit at inferior numbers to Samsung 4K, but Hugo Boss shows up with his Air Force and mops up Samsung's Air Force pretty much in its entirety. He has, though, reestablished his forward fire base and has gotten back into the water as well. Looks like he's got some kennels somewhere. There they are, assisting that naval factory. Trying to get to T3. Probably going to try and crank out some Neptunes to deal with the naval pressure, but Ramey has smelled a rat and is coming to deal with it. They are receiving a good amount of cover from these 2-3 clink hammers here at the upper end of the, here on top of the cliffs, but that HQ is not long for this world. And that will unfortunately be the end of Samsung 4K's attempt to get back into the water. Mass lead continues to widen, though. Team 1 continues to gain a lead on Team 2. Hugo Boss ecoing like a madman back here. 476 mass per tick. You guys have seen Hugo Boss's prices. He did inherit this base, but if you've seen their prices for clothes, you would know you need a lot of money to buy their clothes. I think, at least. I don't know. Like I said, never shop there. Wear basketball shorts and a t-shirt. So they don't sell, so I am not their customer. I'm currently wearing a shirt for a summer league swim team that I coached 2 years ago. Love this shirt, super soft. Spy planes going over from Alchemist 96 is going to get a pretty good read, though, on Hugh Boss's base. Hugh Boss has completely ringed all of his T3 mexes with mass fabs as well, and is building a very large energy farm here, in addition to the pretty significant energy generation that he already had, going for a strategic missile defense, getting some more air factories online. At 30 minutes, let's take a look and see if we have any nukes online or any game enders underway. We have nuke defense. Everybody's scared of nukes, but nobody seems to be building their own as of yet. Take that back. Samsung Superior 4K TV himself getting to work on a Stonager. And in the bottom, Hope is absolutely spammed out T1 naval factories and has a lot of tsunamis to back up any retreat that he has to make, which he may have to here pretty soon. He's getting bared down on by superior technology. 2 Omens as well as a Kiefer aircraft carrier bearing down on his position. ASFs looked like they were going to be dispatched for cover, and then he decided against it. Quite a few bulwarks though in this mix. The T2 shield boat for the UEF. That is definitely going to be a huge asset against these longer range battleships. There is a Neptune battle cruiser on the field, so that will definitely help in mopping up some of this surface spam. And the tsunamis will have to do their thing whenever it comes to the submarines, as well as any Tiger Sharks that he has here in the mix, or Coopers, which I don't see very many of, if any. These guys are going to run straight into a lot of static defenses of the torpedo variety. And that Neptune is going to take a ton of fire as it gets focused down by the Omens. Bulwark shields go up just in the nick of time, potentially to save it and get it out of range, as Trux is forced to withdraw from the fire of the tsunamis. Do you have a missile ship? Yeah, he's a Torrent class missile ship here in the mix as well. So going to be resorting to standoff tactics with the Aeon T3 missile ship. Huge T1 bomber commitment though for Samsung's position. Does have a lot of flares in the mix. Not sure if he has any flak though. Flak could definitely help. Does sound like he has some. Not sure where it is. Does sound like though he is benefiting from that AoE AA, which is going to absolutely take apart these T1 bombers in short order. Even though there are a flobbity-jillion of them. Yes, that's a scientific term. I checked with Wikipedia. Wikipedia is the source of all truth. Solace torpedo bombers out from Trux. Looks like he's going to try and do some damage here, but there are a lot of governors in this mix. Count 4, potentially more. Governors are no slouch whenever it comes to AA. It's probably going to be a future science video, is how do cruisers stack up in the AA game. You have a ton of utility outside of AA, but predominantly the way that you see them utilized is anti-air. At least on Settons. Or tactical missiles. I don't know. I'm speaking incorrectly. Lots of Salems in a Galaxy. Taking out Samsung 4K's forward position here. Ravagers and Klinkhammers just not up to the task of defending this many against this many boats. Looks like there was something of an air engagement up here. No, just some SR-90 Blackbirds. But this base is history, I believe. Too many Salems, Galaxy, got a command class, T3 aircraft carrier. Oh, nuke launcher goes down. Nuke was about 75% loaded last time I checked. And that's gonna hurt. His whole power grid's gonna go bye-bye. Still got 2 Klinkhammers firing. Strike that. 1 Klinkhammer firing. Sort of. It has no energy. Never mind. It's gone. That is going to be the end of Samsung 4K's primary base. Does have wall sections here, though, to potentially prevent any incursion or any drops from a land perspective. We have a push coming in from Hope, going in against superior odds. Does have a Tempest nearing completion, just finishes. On Samsung bows out from control K-ing. I gotta say, you know, I understand you're in a tough position, but I try to not bow out. Try to never give up until the fat lady sings. You guys know what I mean? Trux is gonna do some damage here, I think. Well, actually, once this Tempest gets into range, I don't know how much he's gonna be able to do against the superior technology. Actually, Hope is gonna try and do some damage. Trux, I believe, is gonna be able to defend with the Tempest as well as the Omens and Vespers that he has deployed. I believe that will be the end of this push as he turns around and heads home. And this naval force has now been redirected to bombard Lenning's forward position, but also this cliff. If you guys want 10 more points and more of my undying respect, you can tell me again what movie the fat lady sings from. I'm sure that that's a quote from somewhere else, but the movie that I am referencing, you will get more of my undying respect. I try to always tell that to my teammates whenever I'm playing with them. I say, we're not gonna give up until the fat lady sings. And then they all give up. And then I start hearing the fat lady sing. Ethota marching its way across the bottom pond. Does Trucks have a visual on that? Definitely does. Looks like these T2 torpedo bombers dispatched by Hubos are maybe going to target it. Give it a little glancing pass as they go by. They also have Alchemist finishing an experimental unit. The air player finishes up a Soul Ripper. Getting to 36 minutes here. We've got a Yelana Os under construction for Hubos. Rolling like a big shot at 483 mass per tick. How much is he negative though? Well, I think he's reclaiming a good amount, but he's still negative by a lot. So we'll see how well that goes. Another column advances across the straits, comes under withering amounts of fire from these Salems. And if they make it past that, they are answered by an Oblivion turret here to mop up the rest of them. Some siege tanks in this mix as well. But not many are going to make it across the passage, and the ones that do are going to be damaged. And this Ethota is just going to be hounded to death by these Vespers from Trucks. As well as the torpedo bombers, so insult to injury here, and ground firing with the Omen. Alright. He does not want that Ethota to make landfall in the slightest. This Soul Ripper, again, another experimental going potentially to waste. Takes out a ton of engineers for Lenning. I think Alchemist may have thought he had air control, but looking at ASF numbers, I've got Hubos at almost 200 ASF, 2 without fuel. Alchemist sitting at 123, so pretty significant majority in the air units for team number 1. Ethota ends up dying here. There's still a little bit of a standoff here in the bottom pond. Top pond, though, again, firmly in Team 1's grip. More Clink Hammers are getting spammed up, as well as Buzzkills. Hope is hoping to hold off this incoming storm. I don't think he's going to be able to. And the comprehensive scout plane coverage over the top pond is going to mean that team number 2 is going to be hard pressed to get back into the top pond with any sort of naval presence. How's that Yolana doing? That's about 2k HP, higher than last time we checked it. It's about 50% of the way done, working on some shields. The Alchemist working on any sort of game ender solution. He is working on a strategic missile launcher. It's about 10%, maybe 5% of the way done. Alchemist. Having some energy issues, potentially. And these Salems have gone for a stroll, looking to bombard Lenning's base. Trucks has another Tempest, the third one on the way. Gonna bring in some real long-range bombardment here on Trucks. And Trucks almost done with an Atlantis as well. I'm not doing very good at calling out experimentals being built. Hope goes to work on a second Atlantis here. Atlantis do have pretty good torpedoes, so it might be enough to turn the tide. These Salems, though, begin running away, cannot shoot backwards. There's going to be a bunch more Salem wrecks deposited on the midpoint of Settons. Ramey does turn them around, but I believe that the damage might already be done here. A couple of Othams in this mix. Could do with dropping some engineers there to reclaim. Still needs to reclaim this bug as well. And he definitely could use the mass. And behold the flight of the T-1 bombers headed straight for Lenning. They are going to fly over. I believe some Ioshavas are in this mix. One Ioshava. And that will do some pretty serious damage. We do have some Harbinger Mark IVs here as well from Hubos. There are just too many T-1 bombers though to deal with. As well as everybody getting into the air game. Ramey is getting into the air game with 115 ASFs of his own. And Hubos is up to 226. I believe Alchemist is the only one with significant T3 air commitment at 178 ASFs. Not an insignificant number by any means. But we'll be hard pressed to deal with the larger numbers from team number 1. How's this nuke coming? About 50% has gotten to work on the disruptor though. That is completing much faster than the nuke. How's our Yolana looking up here? Ooh, nearly done. Coming up on 10,000. 5/6 of the way there. Is there SMD though in between that Yolana and Alchemist? I do not see any SMD. I believe there was SMD in Hubos's base. Yeah, so we do have SMD there. What is the range on that? Okay, so it does just it does cover the Yolana. So that's going to be a problem. They're actually being pinged out right now. So that is going to be a problem. Dealing with that. These Ioshavas are still trying to deal with the massive amount of T-1 bombers that Hubos threw at Lenning. Not doing a stellar job of it either. Could do with getting some static AA up. But I think all of his APM is focused on building shields and keeping this naval force out of his base. That would be the Yolana Os's completion. As it gets to work on its first nuke. I love seeing a Seraphim experimental missile launcher. It's a thing of beauty. Is this nuke going to be done to potentially try and take it out, or the disruptor? I don't think the disruptor has enough range. Going for a teleporter though. I'm not sure if Alchemist has any other upgrades yet on his comm, or if he needs laser as well. Teleporter should be completed here pretty soon, but that nuke is going to be completed sooner. $10 says it's going straight for the opposing air player. And it looks like Ramey has dropped a series of engineers here, built up some T1 factories, got some Salems walking. They're starting to encroach on Hope's recently inherited base.
Strategic launch detected.
And that is our first nuke. He's going for the front player, actually. Where is Lenning's comm? Lenning's comm is working on a nano repair upgrade back here, actually. Already got ARAS, so was planning on losing his base. Getting advanced nano repair right after, so getting ready to try and contribute without a base. Love it. That nuke begins coming in. Oh, one SMD, two SMDs, it'll stop it. But that is it for that SMD. That might have bought him enough time, though. That might have bought them enough time, though, to figure out how to take out the opposing SMD and take out the Yolana. Need to do it, though, before that secondary SMD gets up. He could potentially edge the SMD and drop it like right here. And I think he'd be able to take it out. But that SMD is going to be able to take out Lenning's base. Lenning has got tons of energy storage, though, to make sure that he has enough power to weather the oncoming storm. Unlike the Texas power grid. And in the bottom, we have all three Tempests up and running as Hope makes a semi-optimistic play against a wildly tech mismatched naval fleet, even though he has superior numbers. These guys are just ground firing, and the Tempests do have healthy torpedoes. This nuke, though, is going to land and decimate most of the base. And Alchemist does his teleport, doesn't make it. Oh, sorry I missed that. Does take out the Yolana, though. Now Lenning is the recipient of Alchemist's previous base. We have a stream of Medusa light artillery coming in. There are a bunch of renegades to blunt the storm, though. But torpedo bombers have been deployed from Hubos in the bottom pond. These Atlantis are going to do some work here. But it's two Atlantis against a ton of Omen and Torrent and Tempests. A ton of stuff. Lots of stuff, as well as torpedo bombers. And these torpedo bombers are almost one passing these Atlantis. Salems are also marching their way in. And we have a Solace snipe on Hope. I haven't published this game, but I did a terrible job calling comm kills. I apologize, guys. I'm a little rusty. Been a while since I've cast. Getting back into the swing of things still. And where is Lenning's comm? Lenning's comm, last I checked, was here. Somewhere. Oh, he's making a run for it. His Air Force made a valiant attempt at victory, but his base will be overrun with Salem's and Medusa. And he's going to work on a stealth fuel generator, so it doesn't want to be seen. We do have a bug coming in though from Ramey. T3 air defense. Gonna take a couple shots at it. That Soul Ripper making a beeline for that comm. And he could just walk over it. He could just fly the Soul Ripper over the comm and probably control K. And he'd be able to kill off the comm. See if he needs to do that. I don't think he will. And that is going to be our last player going nuclear. And that is game. Good game, well played, everybody. I really enjoyed watching these games. Settings always leads to interesting games with fun swings. Pleasure to cast this one. If you guys got all of my movie references, as well as the Side Island bet, like I said, you have my undying respect, so make sure you claim that in the comments down below. I will be working on the Stone Age mod, getting that tournament organized, and I'll keep you guys posted on that one in the next few days. Hopefully FTX gets back to me soon, so I can get that rolling. My preliminary thoughts though are I'm thinking that I'm going to cap the skill cap, and this is open for feedback, but it's going to be a Stone Age mod tournament, so all T1. I'm going to cap the skill level at, I believe, 700 ladder or 1000 custom. So I would like this tournament to be new player friendly. I'm also thinking about doing it double elimination, so even if you get knocked out in the first round, you'll still be able to play at least a couple of games and potentially redeem yourself. So give me some feedback on that. That's my working theory for the tournament, but that's it for this one, guys. I hope you guys are all well, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.